Okay, now let's move on and let's talk about adjectives. So the question is, how do adjectives change, or how are adjectives inflected? So, adjectives change according to four things. Number one, number. Second, when you compare or comparison. Third is because of intensity. And fourth is because of gender. Let's look at certain examples. So, for number, for the plural form, the first syllable of the root word is duplicated. However, in everyday usage, not duplicating the first syllable of the root word is acceptable. So, for example, the word maganda, right, or beautiful. The moment you say, you talk about a noun that's in the plural form. So, for example, when we pluralize nouns, it's very easy, right? You just put mga before the noun. So, for example, rosas, which is a noun meaning the rose. If you make it plural, it simply becomes mga rosas. But what about adjectives? So, maganda becomes magaganda. So, look at the first syllable of the root word ganda. The first syllable of ganda is ga. So, it's ga that you duplicate. So, instead of saying maganda ang rosas, which means the rose is beautiful, when you want to say the roses are beautiful, it becomes magaganda ang mga rosas. Let's move on now to how adjectives change also by number. So, to emphasize the quantity, one repeats the first syllable of the number. So, for example, if you want to say, you only have 2 roses, you say, dadalawa ang rosas ko. Look at the word dadalawa. So, you get the first syllable of the root word dalawa, and it becomes dadalawa. So, it becomes, I only have 2 roses, or literally, only 2 marker roses mine. So, what if you just want to say dalawa ang rosas ko? If you say dalawa ang rosas ko, then what you're saying is, I have 2 roses. That's it. But if you want to say, I only have 2 roses, then you say, dadalawa ang rosas ko. Similarly, if you want to say, you only have 1 rose, you say, iisa ang rosas ko. So you double the word isa, the first syllable of the word isa, and it becomes iisa ang rosas ko, meaning you only have 1 rose. Let's talk about comparisons. Okay. To express equality, right? You use the affixes kasing or magkasing. Okay? To express a higher quality, the words mas or lalong, both meaning more. So as you can see, there's a mistake there. It's not he words, it's the words. Can be added before the adjective. For the superlative form, the prefix pinaka is added. So that's how you change it. So let's look at comparisons first. Okay. Now, when you say, kasing ganda ng rosas ang sampagita, and look, your root word there is ganda. Your prefix is kasing. So you put kasing ganda, you put kasing with ganda, it becomes kasing ganda, right? Kasing ganda ng rosas ang sampagita. So what you're trying to say is, as beautiful the rose is the jasmine flower, something like that. Okay? Now, you can also say the same thing but in a little bit different way when you use the affix magkasing. So see, there's a mag before the kasing. So there's mag, there's kasing, and your root word ganda. And put together, it becomes magkasing ganda. So what you're trying to say here is, magkasing ganda ang rosas at sampagita, the rose and the jasmine are equally beautiful. Okay, now, go back. So if you look at the first sentence, look at what follows kasing ganda. It's ng rosas ang sampagita. Meaning, the sampaguita or the jasmine flower is what? The focus of the sentence here. How do you know that? You know that because of the word ang. Ang, remember, is your marker. It marks what the focus of the sentence is. So what you're saying is, it's the jasmine flower that is as beautiful as a rose. So the focus really is on the jasmine flower, which you know because of the word ang. Now, look at the second sentence. So, magkasing ganda. So now, you have two nouns and both of them are the focus of the sentence. So, magkasing ganda ang rosas at sampaguita. In fact, you can even put ang before the sampaguita and you can say, magkasing ganda ang rosas at ang sampaguita. Now, notice, there are two spellings of sampaguita here. Why? Some people spell it sampaguita, which is more common actually. It's a G-U-I spelling. Some people will just spell it as sampaguita. It's okay. So, these are spelling variations. Let's move on. Okay? So, another way to compare two flowers, for example. You can say, mas maganda ang rosas sa bougainvillea. So, the bougainvillea. Okay? So, what you're saying is, the rose is more beautiful than the bougainvillea, or literally, more beautiful the rose marker bougainvillea. Now, look at the word mas. Okay? This is not an affix. This is another word. So, what you're trying to say, mas simply means more. Mas maganda ang rosas. More beautiful the rose. Now, look at the second one. Ang pinakamagandang bulaklak ay rosas, or another way of saying this, rosas ang pinakamagandang bulaklak. Look at the affix pinaka. You put pinaka and you put maganda and you put it together and then it becomes pinakamaganda, meaning most beautiful. Pinakamagandang bulaklak, most beautiful flower. Now, do not get confused with the word pinakamagandang. So, your word there, your adjective there is maganda, right? And so you're asking, why is it pinakamagandang? Where is the NG there? So remember that NG, pinakamagandang, is a contraction of pinakamaganda na. So really, your phrase is pinakamaganda na bulaklak. Most beautiful flower. Now, you now combine pinakamaganda and na, you contract it, it becomes pinakamagandang. So when can you contract it? You can contract it if your adjective ends with a vowel. Right? Do you have to contract it? No, you don't. Ang pinakamaganda na bulaklak. But it sounds more natural. Now, can you say bulaklak na pinakamaganda? You can. Why? Because remember, you can interchange the order of the noun and the adjective. Let's move on. We're still talking about adjectives. There are two ways of showing intensity. So first, you repeat the adjective with the linker nang in between. If the adjective ends with a vowel, the adjective and the linker nang are contracted and a hyphen is put in between. So for example, you can say, magandang maganda ang pelikula. So the film was very good. So you have to remember, the word maganda is a little bit flexible in meaning. It can mean beautiful, it can mean good. And people kind of interchange the meanings of the word maganda. So, but what's important to remember is, so to intensify, to show intensity in an adjective, you simply repeat it and you just say magandang maganda. However, you need to remember, you cannot say maganda maganda. You need the NG there. Okay? So, let's move on. Another way of showing intensity is to use the affix napaka. So you put napaka plus root word. So it becomes napakaganda ng pelikula. Very good linker film. Second, gender. What happens? So there are two ways. So you use A, right? If it's a woman, and you use O if it's a man. So you say, ambisyosa si Juana. Juana is ambitious. When you say ambisyoso si Juan, so it's still it's still the same thing. It's still ambitious, except that's a little bit like Spanish. I think this was derived from Spanish. You put ambiciosa A for women and O ambicioso for men.